Monica Beets just pulled off the gutsy move of a lifetime. She ditched her family's gold mining dynasty to strike out on her own and hunt for treasure. While everyone else was busy stacking their own piles of cash, Monica felt trapped, like she was always stuck playing follow the leader. So, she asked herself, isn't it time to break loose and chase the gold her way? You'll want to stick around for this, because what happens next gets wild. The whole crew teams up to try and sabotage her. There's a fresh gold fever brewing in the Beets family. For years, Monica was promised her big break, a chance to run her own mining spot. Her brother Mike had his gig up on the hill. Kevin was rocking it at Scribner, and even cousin Mike had his duties at Indian River. But Monica? She kept getting sidelined. Her dad, Tony Beets, had found a sweet piece of land loaded with potential ages ago. But guess what? It's just been sitting there, untouched. Why the holdup? Tony never got around to digging it up himself. But if there's gold waiting, why let it go to waste? Monica spotted her shot and wasn't about to let it pass her by. Here's the kicker. Her big move is about to reveal a family secret no one saw coming. And trust me, that's not the only jaw-dropper in store. Want the full scoop on Monica Beets? Hit that subscribe button first. Monica had a plan. It wasn't flawless, but it was something to work with. The Moose Creek Trail was falling apart, and an old wash plant, rusty from years of sitting around, needed to be hauled to a new spot. Moving it was a total headache. Think tangled logistics and endless problems. But Monica was determined to make it happen. Here's the catch. Tony, her dad, had other ideas. He only cared about what he could see right in front of him. If it didn't match his big picture, he'd shove it aside like yesterday's news. Monica kept pushing, but her project, it never climbed up his to-do list. She'd faced a million roadblocks before and wasn't about to quit now. Just when she thought things might finally click, like getting that pump she needed to start her own mining cut, Tony and his buddy Mike spotted a shiny new gold patch. Boom! Just like that, her plans were forgotten. That's Tony for you. If something sparkly caught his eye, he'd chase it without a backward glance. Monica watched her dream get sidelined again. It stung. She'd poured her heart into this, worked hard, planned smart, stayed patient, but it still wasn't enough. She'd learned the mining game from the ground up, listened to her dad's advice, followed his rules. And yet, she was still stuck in the background, like an extra in her own story. Years of proving herself and respect, nowhere in sight. Every time she got close to running her own show, something or someone yanked her back. She was tired of begging for a chance, tired of waiting for a green light that never came. All she wanted was to call the shots, run her own mine, and stop depending on someone else to say, go. But Tony wasn't letting go that easy. He'd built this whole operation from scratch and loved being the boss. He decided who got what and when, no ifs, ands, or buts. Monica finally saw it. He liked her around, but only if she played by his rules. Independence? Not on his watch. He wanted her to need him. Even when they agreed to fix the trail, it was a mess. The crew was tied up elsewhere, and her project kept slipping lower on the list. She hoped they'd get to it, but Tony wasn't in a hurry to help. He wanted her leaning on him, not standing on her own. That's when it hit her. If she wanted her own mine, her own future, waiting wasn't the answer. She had to break free. It was a tough pill to swallow. She'd grown up in this business, shadowing her dad, soaking up his lessons. But now, she saw the truth. Staying meant always playing second fiddle to Tony's whims. Leaving meant taking the wheel herself. It was her crossroads. Stick around and stay stuck, or step out and build something all her own. Mining's a gamble, and Monica Beets never flinched at the odds. She'd tackled brutal conditions, frozen dirt, busted machines, you name it, and kept pushing forward. She learned the hard way, grinding it out until she knew the game inside and out. But she was done waiting for someone to hand her the keys. Monica had paid her dues. Every snag, every not yet, every delay just hammered it home. She was ready. Her story starts way back, far from a typical kid's life. While others were glued to screens or sweating school tests, Monica was knee-deep in the Yukon, learning gold mining from a legend, her dad, Tony Beets. Tony's a big deal in the mining world, the king of the Klondike, pulling gold out of the ground for decades. And there was little Monica, not even a teen yet, getting her hands dirty right beside him. At 12, Tony threw her a curveball, a front-end loader, no manual, no hints, just figure it out in under an hour. Most kids would freeze. Monica? She hopped in and made it work. That gutsy move shaped everything to come. No second-guessing, no backing down. She wasn't just proving herself to Tony, though. His crew, gruff, seasoned guys, weren't about to take orders from some kid. But Monica didn't coast on her last name. She earned her stripes. By 16, she was running heavy machinery like she was born to it. At 18, she was bossing a crew, guys twice her age, hardened by years in the dirt. Did they listen to a teenage girl? Not easily. She had to scrap for every ounce of respect, showing she was the real deal. The Yukon doesn't mess around. The cold bites hard. Machines quit when you need them most, and nature laughs at your plans. Monica grew up watching Tony wrestle it all. Gears jamming, rigs sinking in mud, floods trashing weeks of work. She learned fast. Mining isn't luck, it's survival. Something breaks? Fix it. Something's missing? Improvise. Whining won't dig up gold. Her mom, Minnie Beets, was the unsung hero in all this. While Tony ruled the mines, Minnie kept the family and business humming, handling the money, holding it all together. That grit rubbed off on Monica, mixing with Tony's fire to make her unstoppable. Monica's not a kid anymore. She's a pro who's outgrown the waiting game. She knows the risks, she's faced the worst, and she's ready to run her own show. On her terms, not anyone else's. Monica Beets knew she had to be tougher and hustle harder than anyone else to earn her spot. Then came the cameras. Yep, Gold Rush, the TV show that blasted her into living rooms everywhere. Mining's already a gritty, guy-heavy world, but now she had to crush it with millions watching. Talk about pressure. The show made her famous, but it also cranked up the heat to prove she wasn't just Tony Beets' kid riding his coattails. Not everyone was a fan. Some viewers cheered her on as a badass role model. Others rolled their eyes, calling her a reality TV wannabe cashing in on her family's name. But Monica? She didn't blink. She wasn't there for the spotlight. She was staking her own claims, setting her own goals, and running her own game. No handouts needed. Every season of Gold Rush threw new curveballs her way. She tackled monster machines worth millions, wrangled flaky crew members, and even squared off with her family over big decisions. But the Yukon's no picnic. Beyond the dirt and gears, she's dodged bears sniffing around camp, battled wild weather that can tank a whole season, and watched workers bail when the going got tough. Mining's not just about striking gold. It's a fight to keep going. Through it all, Monica's earned her stripes as one of the show's toughest miners. She dives into the mess, speaks her mind, and proves she's more than Tony's daughter. she's a powerhouse on her own. Off-screen, she's built a life too. In 2018, she tied the knot with Taylor Mays, a fellow miner, in a no-fuss Dawson City wedding. Just family, friends, and real vibes. No Hollywood glitz. Then, in 2021, she welcomed her daughter, Jasmine. She keeps Jasmine out of the spotlight, sharing only a peek or two online. Monica's story isn't about luck or an easy ride. It's about grit, guts, and refusing to quit in a world where women rarely shine. She's faced doubters, skeptics, and the Yukon's brutal challenges, and she's still standing tall, still mining, still showing she belongs. Now, rewind to her dad, Tony Beets. Before he was the king of the Klondike, he was just a kid from nowhere special. Born December 15, 1959, in a tiny Dutch village called Weidenes, Tony grew up on a farm where hard work wasn't optional. It was life. His family kept the dirt under their nails, and by age 7, they uprooted to Friesland. That farm boy grit. It's where Tony's story, and Monica's roots, really kicked off. From Dutch fields to Yukon gold, he built it all from scratch with nothing but sweat and a dream. Tony Beets didn't have it soft growing up. In another rural corner of the Netherlands, life stayed tough. As a kid, he was fixing machines and hauling farm gear while most were still figuring out training wheels. Then, at 15, everything flipped. His dad got hurt, badly hurt, in an accident that left him unable to work. Suddenly, teenage Tony was the one in charge. No room for excuses. He was bossing grown men around, juggling responsibilities that would crush most kids. But Tony, he didn't just handle it, he owned it. He learned quick, made sharp calls, and acted like a guy with decades under his belt. That pressure cooker didn't just keep him alive, it forged the guts and grit that'd later make him a Yukon legend. By 20, he'd had enough of the Netherlands. Farming was okay, but it wasn't a ticket to anything big. He wanted cash, a shot at something better, not just scraping by. So, in 1980, he bolted for Canada. First stop, Salmon Arm, British Columbia. He gave dairy farming a whirl, but cows weren't his vibe. Then he caught wind of something wild. Miners in the Yukon were raking in over $1,000 a week. That was it. Forget milk. He was chasing gold. The Yukon wasn't a welcome party, though. He rolled in with next to nothing, barely speaking English, and started hustling on construction crews. The cold was ruthless, the work brutal. But Tony's not a quitter. Bit by bit, he cracked the code, sliding into gold mining by running machines for someone else. He soaked up every lesson, worked insane hours, and showed he could hang. By 1984, he was done clocking in for others. He planted roots in Dawson City and started building his own name. A few years later, he wasn't just some rookie anymore, he was the boss. He snapped up claims in the Klondike and turned them into gold mines everyone knew about. Paradise Hill? That was one of his big wins, the heart of his growing empire. But Tony didn't play nice. If you worked for him, you'd better be tough, or you were out the door fast. The ones who stuck around? They were family. The rest didn't even get a chance to whine. People started calling him the Viking, not just for his Dutch blood, but for his no-nonsense attitude, relentless drive, and a will that could bend steel. He didn't just make it in the Yukon, he ruled it. Tony carved out his legacy with sweat and smarts. But when the Gold Rush cameras rolled in, the world got a front-row seat to the Viking in action. And boy, did they see something epic. The Beets family wasn't just a name, it was a powerhouse. Then, in 2010, the Gold Rush cameras rolled in for Season 2, and the world met Tony Beets. Rough, Tough and all business, Tony showed off his giant mining setups and ruled his crew with an iron fist. For over 60 episodes, fans watched him take wild risks, battle the Yukon's harsh vibes, and push everyone to their limits. He didn't do it solo, though. Minnie, his wife, was his rock from day one. Childhood neighbors turned young lovebirds. They built this life together. With their 4 kids, Kevin, Monica, Mike, and Bianca, it was a family affair, but not some sweet little gig. Minnie crunched the numbers and kept the cash flowing, while Tony chased gold like a man possessed. They didn't always agree, especially when Tony got obsessed with old-school dredges, sinking big bucks into them, convinced they'd change the game. Minnie wasn't sold, but Tony? Once he locked onto an idea, good luck stopping him. Tony didn't just start a business, he built an empire. Year after year, he dug deeper, pushed harder, and made sure his name stuck. He wasn't some miner hoping for a lucky break. He wanted a legacy, something epic, and he fought tooth and nail for it. Big risks? He took them. Crazy ideas? He ran with them. He demanded top-notch work. If you couldn't hack it, you were out. Weakness didn't fly in Tony's world. You had to be tough, just like him. Failure? Not even on the table. His story's more than gold. It's about grit. It's raw hands and aching bones, proving the impossible can be done. Born in a tiny Dutch village no one's heard of, Tony grew up around hard workers, and it stuck with him. But he craved more, so he bolted for the Yukon. A wild do-or-die land where you either strike it rich or crash hard. No safety nets, just dirt, gold, and guts. Things got messy plenty of times. Machines died at the worst moments. Mines held out on him. And some days, it felt like the universe was saying, nope. But Tony? He didn't quit. He fixed what broke, shoved past the setbacks, and turned every problem into a win. Even now, with all his success, he's not chilling. He's still hunting the next big score, still driving himself and his crew to be better, bigger, bolder. In mining, Tony Beets is a legend. And when he goes for something, he goes all out. So, what about Monica Beets? Is she smart to walk away from this empire? Or is she betting it all on a dream that might flop? Tony built something massive, but Monica wants her own shot. Tell us what you think. Drop your take below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.